All right. It is the start of the spring market here in real estate, and I'm here to give you the information of what is going on here in the real estate market as we head into the spring market. A lot of big things are going on, and not only the State of the Union here in the United States, but also the war in Iran. How is that going to affect the real estate market? Also, rates have already fallen to a point that we haven't seen since September of 2022, and like I said, the spring market is upon us, and I just want to touch base with you and talk to you about what's happening here in the real estate market, kind of give you an idea of the flow of it all, basically, as we are concluding the winter season now and heading into the spring. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about three main things. Number one is the housing sale price of the area. Also, we're going to talk about the inventory supply and how's that looking like. And then we're also going to talk about the buyer, just the motivation of the buyer, flow and the movement going in. The demand is the big word that we're looking for here, okay? So yes, my name is Luis Torres. I'm a realtor here in the Western Suburbs of Chicago. I would love to be all over the Chicago Bay area, but realistically, I'm not naive to know that, hey, most of the work that we do is local, and I am a hyper-local agent here in the Aurora market, and I would love to help you out in case you are interested in, any real estate advice. And if you're looking to buy or sell a house, call me at 630-777-4597. Okay, so without further ado, what I want to do here is get to the statistics, okay? So again, listen, the real estate market is hyper local, right? Even though there's a lot of big things happening out in the world, at the end of the day, Sue down the street is going to want to sell her house, and Mark is going to want to buy the house, right? And, they can have their opinions, and people can, get distressed about, hey, the Iran war and, some national news happened, of course. And you could use that as a reason to get out of the market, fine. But as a real estate broker myself, I know that when one goes in pause mode, I call it pause, there's another one to fill in the empty space. There's another buyer willing to do the transaction. There's another seller willing to sell. So that's what I focus on here. Every day, I get folks to say, I want to pause because of the war in Iran, or I want to pause because of the State of the Union. I want to pause because of the political environment. And even right now, we are in a political voting, time, a season. We got the primaries going on here, and it is a primary year. It is also, that time that it's an election year, a big one here in the United States. So folks can have a lot of reasons as to, why they want to pause. And for me as a broker who deal with, hundreds of individuals here who have told me that they are looking to buy or sell, when one of those, like I said, wants to get away from the market, then another one is going to just fill in the gaps. So for me as a broker, I don't feel that the political environment now is really drawing us down to a stalemate, and I don't see that going off anyway. And then as well, the State of the Union, let me kind of bring up this graphic here once again. The State of the Union that occurred here, that didn't also, call into account any, major news. Again, the same talking points were mentioned here about the housing shortage being caused by big companies buying up investment properties, and I also referenced this to Tom Toole here on YouTube, who spoke about that it's not really that's not the real issue. The real issue is just demand and really the housing inventory shortage that we see, and we see it here more severely in the Western Suburbs here of Chicago, and we do see that inventory has been in a record low pace. So we're going to see that here in the graph. It's not just me using talking points. No, in fact, I am, showing you what is in the statistics, the numbers. Okay. So anyway, those big talking points from the national politics and whatnot, we're going to see that it doesn't really have a lot to do here with the real estate market in the local area. And let's just see how it's going to turn out as far as the numbers go, okay? So we do like to see, what is going on. So again, the big things, as you can see here, my cursor in the middle, the big thing is here in the Aurora area. I'm focusing on this particular market, okay? The market that we're focusing on is this one, okay? We're looking at single-family homes, detached, not townhomes, not condos. And you can see it right here as well in the bottom. Aurora area, traditional sale, that it is a arm's length sale between a buyer and a seller. It is not a real estate owned sale or a short sale or anything like that. It is a resale. It is not a new construction type of house, and it's a detached single family. Like I said, it's not a duplex or not triplex or a multifamily. It's basically just a sale. Again, you understand that in the real estate, the market is broad. There's many aisles to this supermarket, you can say, right? There's the aisle of single family detached like we're talking about now, but then there's another aisle of homes that are, let's say, in the 600K range, $600,000 plus range. There's another market for $1 million houses. There's a market for townhomes. There's a market for condos, market for duplexes. So there's a lot of things out there. So I'm focusing on only that market that is, again, the single family detached homes. All right. So, and then the price range that we have here is $300,000 or less. Just by experience with folks that I have working here, I do see that this is the kind of homes that people are looking for, especially those that have expressed to me a desire to make a sale, right? So that's why I focus on this one. I'll be an expert in the area that my clients need me to be. If I had most of my buyers in a market of $1 million home and mansions in some other part, that's where I would be an expert in, right? But because the demand shows me that I need to be an expert in this area, then by all means, I'll be an expert in this area. Again, if you want to talk to me, call me 630-777-4597. Don't just leave a comment, but text me the comment. I would love to get in touch with you about it. Okay, so the first pillar of showing the health of the market, okay, 3 things that I like to look at, okay? Like I said, the sale price, and then the amount of homes for sale, and the buyer demand. So let's look at sale prices for now, okay? So we're going to look at the monthly raw data, which is right here. We're not going to take into account right now, at least the rolling 12 months. We're going to just take a look at the data, okay, and how it compares to not just this year, but the last 5 years, the last 10 years or so. Let's just kind of get an idea of the trajectory, okay? So according to this number here in February 2026, because even though the thumbnail of the video does say March 2026, again, we are basing our data based on 1 month that's passed. March is still in play. March is live right now, right? It is, the calendar day is the 4th of March, right? So right now we're technically working on those numbers, but for now we are focusing on February's numbers, and this is how February's numbers ended up being. The average, let me just pull up the average. Here it is. The average price of homes is $253,000. You can see that right there, $253,000 and 166. So how does that look like a year ago? Basically flat. A year ago, if you want to look at February 2025, we were at 255,575. So the average price went down just like about 1%. It's not a lot, right? And so it's still basically flat compared to a year ago. That's for the average price. Now the median price, those are the numbers that are more conservative. We're hitting at 260,000. Again, basically 0.5% off from where it was last year. Last year we were at 261,450, and this month is 260. So again, relatively flat. I mean, literally this line right here, it's flat. So has sales increased or decreased? Well, the answer to that question it has basically been the same, okay? That's again in that general area. Now let's take a look, okay? You say, well, that's the market there. I get it. I will, at the end of this video, kind of show you what the general Aurora area looks like for all real estate, all in general. But for now, again, we're focusing on this particular market of 300K or less. So the prices have stayed the same. There's not a huge drop in prices. There's not a huge increase in prices when it comes to this. And let me kind of educate you about what's been happening in the last 5 years. Now, here I am going to put in the rolling 12 months. And as you can see here in this particular map, this is back in 2023, right? 2023, we did see prices at around averaging 240, and since then we have seen that prices have gone up. As you can see here, what happened in 2023, 24 is that we did see that the prices started going up to 255, and since about a year ago or so, like you said, here it is, it's been relatively flat, the prices, ever since October of 2024, even it looks like September 2024, around that time, around Halloween of 2024, prices have been flat. A little bit of uptick here in December, but again, nothing major. It's been relatively flat. So prices have stayed the same. So when someone tells me, Louis, I don't want to buy because prices have gone up, homes have not really, no. It's been the same. Here and there in the market, we'll see homes that's, put up their price and everything else. But by and large, in this particular market, there's other properties that have gone in the opposite range, right? There's sellers that always want to overprice their homes, and there's sellers that want to go highest possible. But then, there's other homes that can't sell, and then they always take, some sort of discount when it comes to selling because they're having a hard time. But those two balance each other out. We're looking at the median numbers right here. Again, if you want to look at the average, then you could still see the up and down flow of it. But again, since October 2024, we've been relatively flat when it comes to sales. All right, so 250, 260-ish is where we are at. All right, now let's start looking at the inventory supply, okay? Because inventory supply does take into account, the sentiment of folks, and the health of the market does, have a lot to do with inventory supply. All right, so what are we looking at here? This is a 3-year window right here of where inventory is, right? And obviously we're here in the local spot right here in the last year or so, even last 6 months is right here in this spot. Okay, so right here is 2025, about a year ago. This is the whole year. In fact, let me kind of zoom in even more closer. There it is, 1 year. Let me kind of smooth it out to the rolling 12 months and show you what it looks like. All right, and as far as inventory goes, this is a more vivid picture right here. This is the 3-year span, okay? So in 2023 of February, we do see that there was a big slide. Imagine if you had a nice sled there, you could just slide down this. And then ever since then, we've been low. We've been, sub 40 in supply of homes for sale. And that's the case. Every single day, I do see this number to be, the fact. In fact, right now, if I were to show you, what the inventory looks like, I would be able to see here that the inventory is at around that much. There are about 39 homes, and some of those homes are, private, active in the market, and some are pending, some are temporary no-show status. But the point is this, that they are actually there even now. I could tell you the exact number of homes right now for sale, but I won't show you this because the screen is MLS, and that's not public information like that. But anyway, I would just say to you again, I attest to this. This is the same number as we've seen, and it's been that way since even August of last year. Even the whole year, we've just been around the same amount of homes. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? It's not a good thing, right? Because we do want to have more, buyers getting what they want. There's a lot of buyers out there, and I'm going to show you this right now. But yes, that it does show, that there are homes available for sale, and that's not enough keeping up with all the buyers in the market. So the last time we did see, I guess, a pretty basic number, a healthy number, was in 2021 when we had 217 homes for sale. Wow, what an opportunity for folks, right? But ever since, what happened in 2021, 22, 23, we did see that drop off in prices, and people are just locking into place. We call it the lockdown effect. And even though, let me go bring this screen up again, even though there is that, mortgage rates falling to 5.98, everybody's celebrating, that's great, awesome. Honestly, that's not enough, right? I mean, what would really excite people and make them move around and take action would be for them to basically, find the interest rates at 3%, 4%. That's probably what would make folks really sell, because the people that bought homes at 3% interest rates are still right now, wanting to keep that number. 5.98 is more expensive than 3%, is what some folks are. So ever since the rates went up, the only reason people would sell would be for necessity, either foreclosure, it could be because of divorce, any kind of family situation or personal situation, business situation that would cause them to sell. Otherwise, folks are still staying locked in, and that's why we see the shortage of inventory. What can remedy this? Well, a study also came out. I'm not going to quote it right now here, but it basically said this: for folks to get an inventory supply, I think they said for the next 5 years, they need to be building 45 homes every month for the next 5 years just to catch up with inventory, okay? Now, don't quote me on that one. I could find out for you, what that number looks like exactly, but that's an interesting number to account for. Let me see if I can find it here. I'm going on WBEZ, and it does actually say it right there. It says, a new study finds, you can't see it here in the camera, but I am looking at it right now. It says, a new study finds Illinois needs to build 45,000 homes for 5 years to address its housing shortage. Researchers found that rising incomes, employment growth, and higher rates of home ownership have increased demand for housing. Okay, so in the next 5 years, you need to have at least 45,000 homes. So if you divide that, right? 45,000. That means every year you need to make at least 9,000 homes. Build 9,000 homes. That's 750 homes every single month is what is needed. That's 187 homes a week. And that's basically 26 houses a day need to be built just to keep up with demand here in the Illinois, in the state of Illinois. Can you imagine? That's how low inventory supply is. So no matter what the president says about, making sure that, we can have these big companies, not be, taking up all the inventory. The fact of the matter is we need inventory. We need houses to sell because people are locked in and not wanting to do anything. So yeah, homes for sale, that's what it is. And let me show you another metric here when it comes to supply of inventory. Let me go ahead and pull in the monthly data statistics about what's called the month's supply. What's the month's supply, right? In real estate, the month's supply is basically the amount of homes that it would take, the amount of time it would take to sell a house, right? That's what we call the buyer's market and the seller's market. So a buyer's market would look like when the buyers are in control of what the market would look like. Let me see if I can find a balanced market graphic. I'm trying to find a graphic for you here. So I did find this one. Let me see if I can kind of make it larger for you to see here in the video. Bear with me here as it's loading up in the side here. All right, there it is. Very perfect. Okay. And this one takes into account, these are national numbers, right? So I wouldn't really say that this is something local here, but let me just give you perspective, okay? So this is what a buyer's market looks like. It's basically 6 months, 7 months plus of inventory. And nationally, I just got to assume right here that nationally, it is what we saw here in 2006, 7, 8, and 2010, and then it just crashed, right? You saw that number just drop. Excuse me. But that was a buyer's market. A lot of supply. And then the balanced market was 5 to 7 months of supply, right? That's where homes are there. And then a seller's market would be anything below 5 months. Below 6 months would be a seller's market. What is a buyer's market? A buyer's market, again, is when there's so many homes out there. For example, there's 5 houses to one buyer. Now the properties are competing for the buyer so that the buyer can, want to buy this house. They'll throw in a home warranty. They'll, spruce it up. They'll make repairs. They won't sell as is, right? They'll make everything possible so that the buyer is catered to. But on the flip side, when it's a seller's market, now the sellers have leverage because the buyer understands that there's not a lot of inventory. The buyer knows that they have to compete with other buyers. There's probably 10 bona fide buyers for one house. And that's where we are, right? So, 4 month supply is what we saw in 1999. According to this graphic here from National Association of Realtors and KCM analysis, all right? They're saying here that right today, right, according to this website, when it was written, that we are around the 4 month supply nationally, right? We hit a low of 2020 of 2 month supply nationally, but that's what that looks like. Okay, so when we take into account that, let me just kind of show you. I got to go back to the max amount so I could show you what 10 months supply, 6 month supply looks like. Okay, here we go. Let me kind of, excuse me. Excuse me. All right, here we go. So yeah, there it is. 12 month supply. So compare that to this, right? Because we're going back to end time. So this is the national one. This is from a website called foxroach.com. And this is from the National Association of Realtors and KCM analysis. As you can see here in 2010, we did see 12 month supply. So here in the Aurora area, when did we see 12 month supply? Again, yeah, there it is, 2009. All right. We saw that in 2009, 2010, 12 month supply. And then we saw a huge drop off. And in 2013, that's where we are. Okay. But today, according to this one, it says that we're around the 4 month supply. Well, 4 month supply is right here, right? And according to this one here in the local market, we are nowhere near the 4 month supply. And even 4 month supply is still a seller's market. But no, we are not there. We are here in the extreme seller's market. I mean, at this point, buyers are becoming almost, aggressive, very, very aggressive when it comes to things. I mean, what else can you do but to, beg to get an offer accepted? Go to the person's house and just bang on the door, please take my offer. I mean, what other strategies are there, for a person? You could throw out an offer and just wait. Or you could do what happened here a few days ago, actually in my market. There was a property that was for sale here. Let me see if I could pull it up here on my Zen list. But in fact, yeah, I'll do that. There was a property for sale on 312 Oak Avenue on North Aurora. All right, and what we saw here for this particular property was that this home was on the market. Let me see if I could pull it up. Maybe it's Oak Street. There it is. All right, I'm gonna pull it up here so that you can see it. All right, this property here went on the market for $175,000. All right, and there's not a lot of photos in here for this one, but listen, this property ended up selling for $228,500. So I mean, just bring out the calculator here and show you what it looks like. The difference is $53,500 over the asking price because there was so much demand. Oh yeah, I had a buyer here also who made an offer. In fact, I had 4 buyers wanting to make an offer on this property. So that's what we're seeing here, the seller's market being so strong that, folks are making these crazy offers, but this person bought it in cash. So maybe the cash buyer who offers $50K above asking price will get the inventory, right? And that's just the way it is. What can you do in this competitive market? The only thing that's stopping, the craziness of prices really going crazy up, and we talked about the sale prices, is the banks. The banks and their appraisers are stopping folks from going really crazy and bonkers with this information, because the appraiser would say, hey, you know what? According to the comps, this is what happened. This is what the property sold for. Okay. And that's exactly what you see here. You say, what do you mean comps? We understand that. I'm not going to go into detail about it. But here, let me see if I can fix that screen. There it is. So here, according to this is what the comps would look like, right? Let me see if I can zoom in. So this is what homes sold for in this particular area, North Aurora. All right, these are comparables. One sold for $228. That's what we're talking about. One sold for $238, $235, right? So that's what we see here in the market. These are comparables. Homes that are similar in shape and size, bedroom, bath, square feet, and the prices that they sold at. And here it is in the general vicinity of the area. But if it's a cash purchase, hey, there's no appraiser involved. It's just cold hard cash. So if someone is willing to take into account this information, that's what's going to happen. Again, the prices going up is, if it wasn't for appraisers and banks keeping everybody accountable and keeping them sober-minded, we probably would see a lot of prices. But listen, don't be alarmed thinking that prices are going to go up overnight. It won't, right? It takes some time for prices to go up that much. Little by little, week by week, month by month, 6 months, eventually start seeing things growing. And if it doesn't grow like we see here in our chart, like we saw already in the sale prices, then you're safe to say, okay, maybe 1%, 2%, 3%, right? And we already spoke about that here. I'm just showing you right now that right now in Aurora, we are currently in a seller's market, and a very strong seller's market at that. All right, so let me go back here to a more recent time. And in February of 2026, the month supply, not 6 months, not 12 months, not even 4 months, 0.5 months supply. Have there been worse times? Yeah, 0.4 in March 2025. Has there been a worse time? Yeah, in April 2024, right? So we're really flirting with low numbers. But listen, this is what is expected. I mean, think about it. In 2024, 0.5, that happened before, and it continued in March. And then we do see an inventory climb in the summertime. We do see inventory going up in the fall, right? And then usually around this time of year, winter going into spring, we do see the dips, the lowest points of inventory. So that's to be expected. And remember, the valleys and hills of real estate. Here we do see the most amount of buyers. You'll see that right now. And in the winter time, the cold weather months, we do see most amount of buyers. And then we do see the lowest amount of inventory. And then when we do see lowest amount of buyers is when the inventory goes up. So it's, if you can follow my cursor, here we go. This is the winter time, right? So my cursor represents the buyers. It goes up and then down and then up and then down, right? And then up. So that's the cycle. It's interwoven with each other, okay? Supply and demand, that's how it looks like, okay? So that's basically where we are at right now, okay? As far as inventory goes. Now, finally, let's talk about buyer demand here, okay? This is what we call shows per listing. Now, we do have showing time as a way to, measure and track this information, and that's good and all. Another way to track the buyer demand out there are, the basic... if I had the way to draw it here on the Mac, I would, right? But I would just tell you this. Listen, when it comes to tracking buyer behavior, okay, Showing Time, which is an app that we use as realtors to register and log in and request showings, right? And then those showings, do go out there, okay? But that doesn't mean that's the only demand out there, right? Because in Showing Time, it only gives you the tip of the iceberg, right? Of those buyers. But even those doesn't mean that that's the only people out there looking. There's others that are cash buyers that are not working with realtors that are also out in the market. There's investors who are and would be pre-approved, but they don't decide to go out that way, right? There's also those kind of buyers. Then there's buyers that are on the fence about applying, but they're out there looking, right? So the Showing Time only gives it a tip of the iceberg. That's not all the buyers, right? And you can also look on Zillow.com to kind of get an idea. For example, I'm going to, do this. I'm going to, for self-serving purposes, right? I have a property that I have actually on the market at the moment, right? Let's see. I actually have a couple of them, but this one here, I'm just going to highlight this one. And this one is on Binder Street. Let me just show you right here. There it is. All right, great. All right, so this one's going for $350 in Binder Street, and you can see some of the photos. 4 beds, 4 baths, 1,514 square feet. Literally, it's 4 beds plus 2, and baths is correct 4. But look at this, right? It shows you how many views, 1,922 views, and 74 of them are saved, right? And then of this, I could still, show you how many folks were interested. But that right there shows you, how much demand and how much people are looking at this. So it's been looked at over almost 2,000 times. 74 times it's been saved. And according to, the numbers, I could tell you how many folks have already seen this property. But in general, here in the Aurora area, right, this month we are at 18.7. So that's a huge refreshing number here when it comes to buyer demand. It's up there. It's nice and healthy. Are we at the peak? Well, that's a great question to answer. No, it's going to peak in March, right? It usually does peak in March. If you could look at the information here the last couple of years, in March 2024, it peaked at 24 buyers. In March 2025, it peaked at 22. So is it possible that it could peak at 22 or 21 in March? Maybe so. But the point is there's a lot of buyers out there looking. So if you're looking to sell a property, make sure to reach out to me, 630-777-4597. And I can, help you with getting to go out and see some properties, maybe even sell it. Because again, this is the best time to sell, I would tell folks, because the market is hot, right? Folks are out there looking for properties. So basically that's the status of the real estate market here in the Aurora area. Prices have stayed flat ever since 2023. Prices are still flat. But, there are folks that are, getting out there because of limited supply of inventory, because we're starving for inventory at 0.5. And we've been starving for some time. And because buyer demand is out there and it's picking up, right? It's seasonal, but it's hot. It's active. It's a healthy number of 18. And we're heading to 22, 23 shows per listing, and even more so. And then interest rates are, yes, at 6% nationally, 5.98 some places say, right? And even less. And even with the war in Iran, could possibly make interest rates fall even lower. And that could just flood with more buyers in the market, causing an even tighter stretch in inventory and causing even more fierce demand. Even though, again, like I said, even though prices have not gone up, the inventory in the moment right now is going to be very tight. That's just the state of the market at the moment. So again, if you're looking to sell a property, okay, this is a great time because that's the most amount of buyers in the whole year are right now, February, March. That's the peak of the year of buyers. Okay, so make sure to get out there and sell your house to the most amount of buyers right now. But, if you're a buyer out there, don't be discouraged because, the buyers will fall off come May, June, July. But even now, if you speak to the right realtor who not only has the properties on the market and can show you properties in the market, but can also and knows ways of finding properties off the market. Yes, I can. I can show you homes. I can, present you homes that are off the market. Because I am, I'm in conversations with folks all the time, and here and there they tell me, hey, I'm thinking about selling it. I just don't want to sign anything right now, but I would, accept an offer if it came to this. So I can always do that, but you just have to talk to the right realtor. Like I said, we're not all built the same. Some have part-time jobs. Some are motivated. Some are fighting with, demotivation. Others are very bogged down with other tasks and duties, and others, are like myself, all day long, 24/7 real estate. I could help you find properties and whatnot, and I can help you with these kind of things. This is what happens all the time. So give me a call and let's have a conversation. Hope you enjoy this video. If you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe and like, and we will see you on the next one. Let's have a great spring season. Let's go.